All right, so today we do part 2 of lesson 8.4. We look at division with the expressions here. Pause the video, take a look at the problem of the day. All right, so we did simplify and we did multiplying in part 1. The last thing we have to do is dividing rational expressions, and it's only one extra step from multiplication. If I have the property a over b divided by c over d, if you remember, when you divide fractions, you always you take the reciprocal or flip the second one. Now in this case, once you change to multiplication, it works the same as the previous day's lesson. You can rewrite it as a single fraction. Now in this case, nothing cancels out, so there's my property. It's just a times d over b times c. All right, so let's take a look at a basic example just with numbers. 2/5 divided by 7/3. 2/5 times 3 over 7. We multiply them together. 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 7 is 35. You could also see if there's anything else that will simplify. 6 and 35 don't have anything in common to do that. All right, so let's look at division for this one. 7 over x plus 1. Change division to multiplication. 2x minus 3 over x plus 2. And then we'll multiply across. I'm just going to keep it 7 times the quantity, 2x minus 3 over x plus 1 times x plus 2. If you notice, nothing cancels out from top to bottom. So don't FOIL or distribute or anything, just keep the answer like that. All right, so how do we divide rational expressions or fractions? Number 1 says fixed division. That means we change it into multiplication. You flip the second fraction. 2, make sure all numerators and denominators are factored. So this comes back to what we did in the last part. And actually the next couple steps do. 3, multiply numerators, write all factors together, don't actually multiply them. Same with the denominator in step 4. 5, list excluded values, and 6, divide out common factors. Okay, so what I'm going to do with this first one here, I'm going to write it up here, is let's rewrite the first fraction. 5x squared y cubed over x to the 7th. Now change division to multiplication. Flip it, we get y cubed over 30 xy to the 4th. Now, in this case, remember I told you you could cross cancel. Sometimes it's easier just to multiply going across. Let's do that like we did in the last one. Keep the 5, we get x squared, y to the 6th. Remember we add the exponents for multiplication over 30, x to the 8th, because this is 7 plus 1 here, y to the 4th. All right. Now what we're going to do from here, 5 divided by 30 is 1/6. So in my fraction, I'm going to put the 6 in the denominator. I don't have to write the 1, but it'll be 1/6. 2 minus 8, that's x to the negative 6th. 6 minus 4, y squared. Now if you remember our exponent rules, we just subtracted here. If you have a negative exponent, you flip it. So if it's in the numerator, it's now in the denominator. And it's not the whole thing, just what I circled. So you get y squared over 6 x to the 6th. That's my answer. Now if we want to talk about excluded values, because I've mentioned that before, go back to the beginning when we multiply. So it would be in this step here. X cannot equal 0, neither can y. Because if I plug in 0, I'm going to get undefined here. All right. Let's take a look at another example. 2 more here. All right. So I'll write it up here actually. So I have x squared minus 4x minus 21 over 5x plus 15. Remember, we multiply the next part, flip it, x squared minus 100 over x squared plus 3x minus 70. Now, just like the last part of the lesson, we're going to factor each piece. I'm going to write it as one big fraction. So that's the one, top right. Put an x in each parenthesis. Signs are different. I want negative 7 plus 3. 7 times 3 is 21. Negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. All right, let's continue on with this part. The one on the top right is a difference of 2 squares. So we want x minus 10 and x plus 10. All right. Bottom left, you can only factor out a monomial, which is 5. Keep x plus 3 here. And then for the last one, we could factor again. We put an x in each parenthesis. Signs are different. Plus, minus. We're going to do positive 10 minus 7. 10 times 7 is 70. 10 minus 7 is positive 3. So we're ready to cancel out. Before that, let's talk about the restriction. I'm going to add it over here, what x cannot equal. Because this is the step when you switch it back to multiplication where you can see it. All right, if I set this parenthesis equal to 0, I get negative 3. This one would be negative 10. This one would be positive 7. So there's actually 3 numbers that cannot equal the denominator here. All right, from there, negative 7 crosses out, the x plus 3, x plus 10. In the end, I am left with x minus 10 over 5. And that's my final answer. Now remember, I can't divide these out. Why? Because up top it's a minus sign, not multiplication. If I divide by 5, I have to divide both x and negative 10 by it. You can't just say it's x minus 2. That doesn't work. All right, so let's look at the last one here. And don't forget this is over 1. All right. We're going to have to factor. I'll probably set it up here. Before we do that, let's rewrite it. 3x squared plus 13x minus 10 over 6x squared. All right. And now times, there is a 1 in the denominator, so when we flip it, it's 1 over 3x squared minus 2x. All right, what we do from here, let's factor the top. Now don't forget, it's guess and check factoring. And so on the top right, I'll draw a big fraction bar here. 3x squared, so 3x goes in one parenthesis, 1x or x goes in the other. Signs are different. We need the factors of 10. We're going to want plus 5 minus 2. Now you might be saying 5 times 2 is 10, but 5 minus 2 is not 13. Don't forget, it's check OI. Outer becomes positive 15x, inner minus 2x. 15x minus 2x, positive 13x. This is just times 1. I guess I'll write it. 6x squared we can't do anything with. We just rewrite it. And the second one, you can only factor out a monomial or x. So 3x minus 2. Now, before we finish the problem, let's take a look at what x cannot equal. I'll write it over here. If we set 6x squared equal to 0, it's still 0. If we set that x equal to 0, it's just 0. So 0 cannot work. And then if I set 3x minus 2 equal to 0, it's a two-step equation. Also 2/3 is the other number that won't work. Now, all we could cross out are the 3x minus 2's. And what we're left with up top is just x plus 5 over. Now 6, x squared x, we add exponents, right? So 6x cubed. And that's my final answer. All right, that's it for today's lesson. Homework is the problem of the day. And also complete the following problems on assignment 7, numbers 1 and 4.